our equation. Okay. And when they give us M and B, it's pretty easy. But when we don't have B, we have to find B. So I have, this out of the way, I have X and Y and M. I need to find B. So I plug in Y, I plug in M, plug in X, and I find B. So 6 is equal to -2 plus B. Add 2 to both sides. And B is 8. So I have -x plus 8. There's like that invisible -1 there. Again, for number 3, I'll have to find B. So I plug in Y. Oops, that's -9. M is 3. X is 5. Don't know B. So -9 is equal to 15 plus B. Subtract that 15 from both sides. And I get -24. So Y is equal to 3x minus 24. Okay, so familiar? And then we talked about telling whether or not the things are parallel or perpendicular. And to do that, we had to put them both into y equals mx plus b format and then compare the m's. Remember from last week? So I'm going to pick up this x and move it over. And that gives me 5y is equal to -3x minus 7, which I'll then divide everything by 5. Which will give me y is equal to -3/5 x minus 7/5. And then I do the same for this. I'm going to move that -5x over. And I get 3y is equal to, it's now positive because it was negative on the other side, so it's positive on this side, plus 12. Divide everything by 3. And I get y is equal to 5/3 x plus 4. And then I'm going to be comparing these two numbers. They're opposite and they're flipped. So that makes these lines perpendicular. So far okay? Good review? All right. I'm going to pick this 5x up and I'm going to move it over. And I'm going to do it right here. And I get y equals -5x plus 4. That's done. Because there's nothing on the y, so I don't have to do anything else. And then here, if I pick up this x and move it over, I'm going to come over here. I get -5y is equal to -x minus 30. Dividing by -5 gives me y is equal to, there's like that invisible 1 there, right? So I have negative over negative, so this is 1/5 x plus 6. I have -5 and positive 1/5, opposite and flipped, so these are also perpendicular. About parallel and perpendicular and what we know about writing equations of lines. To take a line that already exists, so there's some line here, right? There's this line 2x plus 3y equals -6. That's just this line. And out in space we have some point 6, -3, and I don't actually know where these are in reference to each other in real life. This is just some random example, right? And we want to take the line that we've been given and the point that we've been given, and we want to make a perpendicular line through that point. So this is the line we're trying to find the equation of. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is find m of the current equation. Okay. So we're going to take, So this is the first part. We're going to take 2x plus 3y equals negative 6. And we're going to convert it to y equals mx plus b. So we can tell what the slope is. So I take that 2x and I bring it over. So it's now negative 2x because I switch sides, so switch signs. And then I divide by this 3. And I get y is equal to negative 2/3 x minus 2. Here is m. Okay. Now, after this, I'm looking for the perpendicular line. Okay, I'll either be looking for parallel or I'll be looking for perpendicular. One or the other. Since I'm looking for perpendicular, I want to find perpendicular m. Well, if m is equal to negative 2/3, what is perpendicular m? Perpendicular is the opposite sign and then flipped over.
So it would be
Positive 3 over 2. So here's our perpendicular m. This is the m we're going to use. Okay, so here's our point. Here's our perpendicular m. We're going to use these two things to find that equation of this line. So that was step 2, here's step 3. So I use y equals mx plus b again. Y is negative 3. M is 3/2. X is 6. I don't know b. 3/2 times 6. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. So I get negative 3 is equal to 9 plus b. I'm going to bring that back up here because I don't have enough room. Subtract 9 from both sides. And I get negative 12 is equal to b. Now I take b. Hold, let me just go from here. I take b and I take m. And here's my final answer is the equation. Okay, so if these were drawn correctly, this right here would be the equation of this red line. So this is the line that goes through this point and is perpendicular to that other line. Yeah. This one already has the slope. We don't have to do anything to the first equation. So our number 1 step is to find m. Well, there it is. We didn't have to do anything because it was already in y equals mx plus b. So m is equal to 1/3. Okay, so that part's done. Then our next step is to find, last time we were talking about perpendicular, now we're talking about parallel. So instead of finding perpendicular m, we're going to find parallel m. Well, parallel m is the same, right? If things are parallel, they're the same slope. So we're going to use 1/3 again. If it had been perpendicular, we would be using negative 3. Okay, we're not using negative, but I'm just saying, like, if they're asking for parallel, our m's are the same. If they're asking for perpendicular, you flip it over and change the sign. So this is just like a little side note. We don't need it for this problem. Okay, so we found m, we found parallel m, and now the last part is we're going to use parallel m and the point, which in this case is negative 6, 4, to find an equation. Okay, and now this is kind of similar, except, like, so here's the y equals 1/3 x minus 4 line. Okay, it exists out in some coordinate plane somewhere. And then there's some point, let's just do the same, -6, 4, that exists out in the world somewhere. We're going to try to find that line that goes through the point that runs parallel to the line that was already there. That's all we're doing, is we're trying to find this red line. So okay, y is 4, m is 1/3, x is -6. I'm looking for b. 3 goes into -6, -2 times. So 4 is equal to -2 plus b. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. B is 6. And once I found b, I already had m, so here's the equation I was looking for. This is the equation of the parallel line. I think it helps to like highlight or circle or underline or something that word parallel or perpendicular, so it keeps it it keeps it in your mind, like I'm looking for this type of slope. So in this case, I'm already in y equals mx plus b, so here's m. Well, parallel m is the same, so it's 1/2. So those parts are really easy because they're done. So now I'm going to take the point. So I have -3 is equal to 1/2 of 6 plus b. 2 goes into 6 3 times. So -3 is equal to 3 plus b. If I subtract 3 from both sides, I'm going to run out of space, but b will be -6. So 1/2 was my m, and -6 is my b. On the next example, we're looking for perpendicular, and we don't have the formula already in y equals mx plus b, so first I have to do that. Okay, so I'm going to move the 2x over, and it becomes negative. So that moves. Then I divide by 3. So I get y is equal to -2/3 x plus 4. This is m. But for step 2, I don't want m, I want perpendicular m. So if my m was -2/3, my perpendicular is going to be 3 over 2. Yeah. Perfect. So then for my last step, I take this slope and this point. So y is 5. M is 3/2, x is 12, so I'll just put 12 over 1, plus b. 2 goes into 12 6 times. That 6 is not legible, is it? 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract 18 from both sides. And -13 is equal to b. So my equation for this one, I use this slope and then the b.
I got a question. Do
Yeah.
you have to really put the 1 underneath 12?
No.
Or is that unnecessary?
No, you'll notice I didn't do that here. I just did it here to show the other way, so that whichever way is easier for you, you can do it that way. Doesn't matter to me.
What do we do in the past that you would take the fraction like 3/2, and what you would do is you would.
That's not what I meant. Okay, So step 1, I got to find out what slope is from this line. So I start with 3x minus 4y equals 8. Moving that x over, I get negative 4y is equal to negative 3x plus 8. I divide everything by negative 4. And I get y is equal to a negative over a negative is a positive. So 3/4 x minus 2. Now, I'm looking for parallel slope. So if m is 3/4, parallel m is also 3/4. So that was step 2. And then I'm going to take this slope and this point and use those to find b. So 1 is equal to 3/4 times negative 12 plus b. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Add 9 to both sides. And b is 10. So now I have b and I have m. So my equation is y equals 3/4 x plus 10. Same thing again on my first step. I'm going to convert this into y equals mx plus b. Because the x was negative, it became positive. Divide everything by 4. And my slope is 5/4. So if m is 5/4, what is perpendicular to that?
Negative.
Yeah, don't forget the negative. They have to be opposite and flipped, so both. And then fire my last. I plug in the point, so negative 7. My slope is negative 4/5. X is 20. 5 goes into 20 4 times. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. If I add 16 to both sides, I get 9. And so my equation is y is equal to negative 4/5 x plus 9. This line is perpendicular to that line and it goes through that point. Where a point is relative to a line, okay? So basically what I'm saying is there's this line, y equals 5x minus 3. And it's somewhere out in space. And I want to figure out if 3 negative 2 is here or here or here. Is it on the line, above the line, or below the line? Okay. So what I do is I take this equation, y equals 5x minus 3, and I plug in the point. Okay. So 3, 5, and oh, that's a terrible 5. 5 and negative 2 minus 3. You'll notice I didn't put an equal here. What I'm going to put instead of an equal here is I'm going to put a box. And I'll show you why in just a second. Well, that's 3. And then I have a box. That's negative 10 minus 3. So I have 3 and I have negative 13. These are not equal, are they? 3 and negative 13? Okay, so I took the equal out and I put a box in. If less than is what I would put in there, then the point is below the line. If greater than is what I put in here, then the point is above the line. And if equal goes back in, then the point is on the line. So in this case, 3 is greater than -3. So the point is above the line. So it would be here. Okay, so you take the equal out, you plug x and y in, you do whatever math is on either side or however it works, and then if you get less than, greater than, or equal, it tells you if it's below, above, or on. Yes. Yeah, it is. I totally messed that up. See, this is why I don't like taking Sudafed.
Yeah, well, at least Sudafed works though.
Yeah, it works, except it also shuts off my brain. -2 and 3, right? So then that's -2 and that's 15. So that's -2 and that's 12, which makes it go this way, which changes this. Sorry about that.
So when the y is less than the other side, it's below the line.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so this makes it below, above, on. Okay, want to try another one?
Yes.
Okay. I have 2y equals 8x minus 10, and the point is -3, 5. Okay, -2 times 5. Got my x and y correctly this time. Okay, so that's -10. And this is -24 minus 10. So that's -10, and this is -34. Is this going to be a greater than, a less than, or an equal? Which side's bigger?
Greater than.
Yeah, greater than. So the point is above. Okay.